Okay. So I would ask that we approve today's agenda from the participants in the meeting today. Try to get approval for this agenda today. Could we get a raise of hands for approval?
So is the agenda of what you just sent out or what was sent out by Jeff?
Jeff sent out the agenda.
Oh, okay.
Okay. All right. Agreement on that?
Of course, I would
Any
agree to both of them.
amendments? Excuse me?
I would agree to either one, but I just want to know what I was approving.
Right, that's reasonable. Yeah, the March 18th meeting notes, did anyone have any edits they would like to add or corrections to those minutes? I didn't see anything to change. Okay, so I'll ask for approval of the minutes. There we go. Minutes are approved. Any conflict of interest with today's agenda items?
No conflict?
I have none. Okay, in the echo chamber. And first of all, I think we need to alter today's agenda to have Guy's number 5 happen when Guy arrives. And that we could start with number 6, the detailed planning about how to run community input meetings. Tom and I had a short discussion this morning, but I think it'd be great to kind of run through what our expectations are of, well, we can tell you what we would present at that meeting. The work that Lori and I have been doing on the values, we see that we would be presenting the original, the current community plan values to the community at that first meeting, which if you get the would be on April 18th. So the content would be a review of the original or the current community plan values and get some feedback on those original values, and we have a polling of them at the community meeting on the 13th. And so that would be the content of the meeting, would be to review any feedback we got, what the polling resulted in, and then ask for more feedback at that meeting. So the question, Tom, is how can we best facilitate this, since we haven't got very clear feedback so far from Sarah besides attendance at either your attendance or how the Pacific City meetings have occurred. That's the information we're going on as to how it's going to function.
Yeah.
I was wondering, I have written down, we need a facilitator, we need a recorder that could be the secretary of our officers. We'd probably want to have someone separately monitor the chat and report to the facilitator what things are happening in the chat. And then if we're going to have a whiteboard, I think we need someone on the whiteboard to write the specifics of what we're hearing from the audience so that everyone can see that. And then we're thinking we could take pictures of that and post that in the chat as we go, so people have the first, second, or third whiteboard if we use more than whiteboard, in order to keep that record alive as the meeting goes on. So what do you, I'm sure you have an idea whether that sounds functional or not.
Yeah, the only problem we have is the fact that people who call in by a phone, they're pretty much out of it. And that's just the way it is.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to have them talk to then someone write to do whatever, but it may be just a limitation of that format. And we will probably face that at every every
Well,
meeting.
actually, it's even common to Zoom only. If somebody's on the phone, they can't see what's on the screen, and so it's
Right.
not actually a new thing, come to think about it.
Huh. Well, I think that's the limitation of our capabilities, and
Yeah.
we'll be doing a lot to facilitate the hybrid and live. And we don't know if people show up for a live meeting, but
Yeah.
we're gonna give it a try anyway. So if there's no other specifics about that process, then we know right now. I called Sarah today to ask her to get back to me if she can today so that we can better understand this. But I think your understanding of it through the PC meetings is probably what she would say anyway. That's probably the extent of what we can understand before we do it.
Yeah.
So the other logistics have to do with if you were having a live meeting, it's got to have Wi-Fi. And so the two places that we could come up with so far are Nesquin Valley School, the center room where the fireplace is. They do have Wi-Fi, and so that could function. And then we put a call into the Nesquin Resort that has a meeting room, and that's a capacity of up to 75 people in chairs and 35 at tables. So we haven't heard back from them as to whether they have Wi-Fi. I would expect that they have it in the facility for all the rooms, but I don't know that. So it's a limiting factor at this point on whether we could use that room. So those are the only options we see. It's either get in the car and drive to the school or walk to the meeting room at Nesquin Resort. And so those are the options that we know at this point. Coordination with Sarah and Jeff Sarah's the critical link here that it's kind of hard to get to. But I think she's got to participate in this because she said she would, and it kind of is a very important factor. It seems like she's had pretty good attendance at your meetings, hasn't she, or
Well,
not?
she,
50
well, she likes
50?
bylaws better.
Well, it is more contrite than this subject matter for sure. It's like it's there and you can do it.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's also a lot more controversy at this point. Now, we could
Uh-huh.
have more controversy later. So
Yes.
I think
Yes.
that's just a matter. But yeah, she's got to be there because she's got the hardware. If she's
Yeah.
not there, we don't have the hardware and it doesn't happen.
Right. So the option that I want to explore is Biff Schlichting, who was early involved and set up the website and other things, has the camera, has the stuff to do it, but he'd have to be, I mean, I don't expect him to do it for nothing. He might, but there may be some expense there if we need to do this ourselves or something. I want to have a contingency. So if Sarah's, she had to go to a conference because she's making, gets to talk to the Secretary of State or something about FEMA, or she's not available, we need to have a backup. Or we just do Zoom and not do a hybrid. But I'd like to think enough ahead to find out what our options are, what the expense would be, so that we have a $300 budget, which is not much for an annual budget, but I believe the community association would be open to helping fund community dialogue for a community plan. That's right up their alley. So I'm going to run that down to understand what it would entail to see if that's an option if Sarah isn't available. Oh, hi, Mark. Mark's available. That's good. So I can't hear you, Lori. No, it's still not. It's still muted.
Period.
Cool.
There
Now,
you are.
okay. Tom, I was just wondering, from the meetings that you have facilitated in the past, like, could you just give us a brief, like, description of how you imagine the meeting going? Because, yeah, I'm just curious about, like, if we said, okay, the meeting's this Thursday, what you, and it's a hybrid meeting, how we involve the people that are sitting there in relation to how we involve the people that are on the Zoom, from your experience.
Well, I don't have any experience with the bylaws, but I have other experience. Basically, what you wind up doing is having a camera that's on a whiteboard or the presentation, and then you get audio in. But what we're gonna have to do is have somebody monitor the chat, depending on how many people show up. Now, if just a few
Right.
people show up, then we can just let them interrupt. But if we have to coordinate comments, then we'll have to have specific. They send in, I'd like to talk, and then we take them in order. So basically, we'll have to sort of monitor that stream of information to make sure that we don't exclude anybody that's not there in the room. I don't think we're going to have any problem with the room if we have good enough microphones. That's the key. That's the key. And that's why I say that Sarah's hardware would be critical, because I believe that she does have microphones. And that would be important for the people who are all online to be able to hear.
So in my head, the whole point of having the in-person people there, not just Zoom, is to be able to facilitate something that's more of a conversation and not just like signing in and having 2 minutes to talk and then having the next person and have no back and forth. Is there a way that you can imagine, from your experience, conducting the meeting in a way that people feel like they've had a chance to express themselves, but also there's actually a conversation and kind of a potential to revise your thoughts and go back and forth and see what people really meant, and did you intend that, and that kind of a thing? Or is it just like, this is my thought, this is your thought, this is his thought, we have a list, and we'll process that at the end?
Well, we do have that sort of interchange in the bylaws, but on a limited basis. It usually is a matter of how many people are online. If there's not a lot of people online, then we just have a free for all. But we are prohibited from having an in-person only meeting by the county. We may not have that.
Wow.
Right, I know that, but that's why I'm just wondering if there's the potential to somehow facilitate that, given the guidelines of the county, or if we're just gonna frustrate ourselves, and so we might as well not even imagine that you can have a conversation anymore in America in a public setting. And you can only talk independently and make a list of statements.
Well, I share your frustration. I've frequently said that I wish that the people who made the law that said that we shall have open meetings had to have open meetings.
They do.
Oh, no, I'll bet you they don't. I'll bet you they get 2 or 3 people together and talk.
Well, they probably do that too.
Yeah, well, that's illegal.
Yeah, but Helena has given plenty of comment on Oregon legislature hearings. So, but I think this is so there's two accountabilities here. One is to the county, and Tom, do we have any more guidance than we can't have not like in-person only meetings? Then is that or did we get any more guidance than that from Sarah?
That we got a flat statement. We may not have it. It was,
okay.
I'm not sure you were there at that meeting, but
I probably wasn't.
It wasn't a subject for discussion.
Okay, so then within the sphere of hybrid meetings, like that could be a billion different things, and we've talked about a few of them. And my guess is that no one has challenged the county to like make a decision, so we probably need to vet anything we come up with the county. But like we have in past meetings and in executive meetings talked about that we have a spectrum. We have the hybrid meeting where it's really just a Zoom meeting where the people in the room take turns exactly the way that the people online do, which is the most open and fair. But then is it worth the trouble of getting the room?
Yeah.
Um,
But
and
I mean,
then
if we get, I'm thinking more about it, if we got something like a projector so that the people online can actually be seen and we can see expressions, which is important, obviously.
which
Uh,
Sarah
that
might
would
have.
be, yeah, Sarah may have that. That would be a big deal.
Yeah.
If we, and also if we had multiple inputs, not only on the screen, but each of us in the room. Maybe if we had laptops, we could do a virtual Zoom. That's kind of weird, but I mean, we can expand it some if we
But
throw technology at
yeah.
it.
So, but there's also the other end of the spectrum where the meeting is hybrid and people can Zoom in, but they do not participate at the same um, level of privilege as the people who are in the room, and the people in the room get to talk different. And the county may have something to do with that. All the people who don't live locally may have something to say about that. So, like, I think it's a worthwhile discussion to have. I brought it up in bylaws once, we should talk about like what the rules are for hybrid meetings, and I don't know
Yeah.
whatever happened with that. Um, but
So I have an idea.
what's your
One
idea?
idea would be to uh, kind of look at the proportion of the people that are online and in person. So say a quarter of the people are in person and 3/4 are online. You could do 5 minutes or 10 minutes of discussion of the in-person people who just get to talk. And
Mhm.
then you could do 30 minutes of the online people who can sign up in chat and make their presentations, and the chat people can sign up again to respond to what the other person said, but whatever, they'd be in a linear manner, the way chat makes you work. And then you could go back to, and both groups, the Zoom people and the in-person people would be hearing what each group was saying, but you could have a part of the meeting that the in-person people got to just talk to each other, and a part of the meeting where the Zoom people got to give their input. Just a
Which is,
suggestion.
yeah, which is sort of the way that we've done our regular bylaws meetings, where we'll have conversations amongst ourselves, and then at the end open it up, and occasionally just open it up arbitrarily in the middle for discussion. So yeah, that works fairly well.
So my suggestion would be that you use part of your time on April 13th to get feedback on how people feel about having an asymmetric meeting. Like, and I think if you're going to have an asymmetric meeting where the people in the room have a different experience than the people online, you have to then pair it with a Zoom only meeting like the same week. But I think if you want to come up with an idea like that, like the first step to kind of check whether it's going to fly is to see how people feel at the meeting and see if you get feedback that people are really unhappy with that or people want to try it. So
Are you saying at the general meeting or at the
yes,
first meeting?
at the
At the
general meeting.
I think personally that the people that attend this non-general meetings, those would be the people to ask about how it's going to work, because the people that attend just the general meetings are not necessarily the group that actually will make the effort to do the other meetings. And those are the ones that are invested enough to feel like they have their voice being heard.
Well, we do have to be open to every member. So the general meeting is where you're going to be able to solicit opinions from the most number of people. But
Right, but also they're like people that may or may not actually be involved, that are deciding, oh, they should do it this way. I want them to do it this way, but I'm not going to participate. It's like the people that are, I don't want to argue about this, but it seems to me the people that are participating I agree with you that they should be included in, to make sure that they feel like they've been heard and given the ability to participate.
Yeah,
Well, we might say in that meeting, please identify yourself if you intend to come to the April 18th meeting on a whatever Thursday night at whatever, and have them raise their hands and then say, so what would you prefer for a format? And then you can ask everyone else their opinion too, but at least you'd have the people indicate whether they intended to be there or not. And you can, it's not that, I mean, logistically, it's a little awkward, but it does maybe clarify who intends to be there and how they would like it to be, even though everyone's hearing the question and can vote.
I'd like
I
to
guess
get back to what Jeff said about resuming if after a hybrid meeting. The problem is that this is different than the bylaws kind of meeting. We're trying to brainstorm, and
Yeah.
redoing a brainstorm doesn't work. I mean, you always go from where you were to where you're going. And so it's not like the bylaws where we essentially restart every time that we had a meeting. So it's
Right.
going to be different.
Well, you could just have two parallel brainstorms, one for people who want to show up in person and people who want to watch that.
Okay,
meeting
I
together.
nominate you to meld that.
I don't think that you can. We have to have them both present at the same meeting, don't we? Isn't that what the whole thing is that they have to both be present?
So that's what I'm kind of exploring here is that
Defining presence.
right, yes.
So, so
It-
if I can just interject, so we've been having school board meetings hybrid for some time. And I mean, I sometimes attend school board meetings when I'm away and there's a projector. And so when you speak, it does show you. Yeah, I mean, Jeff, you know this, it
Right.
shows you on the screen and
Yeah,
and you can, everybody that's logged in can see whatever's presented on the screen on their computer. And so so I guess what I'm saying is if Sarah has that capability, I think of projecting it, it is a little bit more like a conversation when you're being projected and people are seeing you and what you're saying.
I assume she's going to bring the same equipment that they use in their meetings at the port, the Tillamook Port building, which has the projector and screen and stuff. But I don't like some of that equipment might be native to that room, so I don't know what's
Okay.
portable and what.
There's one other wrinkle,
Yeah.
is that they use Teams.
Oh,
And that does not have the capability of having straw polls.
So it's possible that I don't see any reason why we can't use our Zoom account and then run the meeting from her computer. There should be no, it's just a question of whether Sarah's
No.
comfortable doing that. Because yeah.
As long as
And
you get
whether
it
we
all
want
hooked
to take the
up.
risk of having going oh crap, we can't get it to work at the last minute, which definitely could happen. So
Well, that's the thing. We really need to get a hold of Sarah and get some confirmation on this deal.
or
Because
did you say that she was available for all the dates?
Well,
She's
she
copied in
was-
on this, what I just sent.
Yeah. I don't want to be dense. Maybe I am, but I just back to the point that I brought up about potentially having a period of time at the meeting where people could just talk to each other in person with the Zoom people hearing everything that's said, and then a period of time when they can respond and initiate their own thoughts that then get responded to. I don't understand why that's unfair and not meeting the public meeting laws. They're both present.
Did anyone say that?
I thought you did.
No.
No,
Okay.
That's feasible.
Okay.
Sarah would know
I guess
exactly
I
how
was just
things
saying
happen.
that we want to be cognizant that it sounds reasonable to us, but maybe people who know that they can't be there in person will be like, no, I want to I want to participate at exactly the same level of participation as the people in the room. So that's why I was suggesting that we ask.
I think that I think what Jeff just said is really accurate. I don't live in Nescoin and I don't know how many meetings there are and what I don't foresee that I'm going to be able to be there all the time in person. And so I do believe that people are going to want to have really honestly the same experience as somebody who's in the room as much. That's what I believe. we will hear.
But okay, I guess to me, if they're present at every meeting, because they're all hybrid,
Yeah,
and they have a proportional amount of time to speak, if we just do a roughly quarter of the people are in person and 75% of them are not,
yeah,
and the people that are present are not allowed to speak during the time that the other people have the floor, basically. Like there's 2 lines of people standing in line waiting to talk. And they've heard the whole conversation. They've been able to respond in chat or ask to be heard as soon as, they're given a chance. I don't understand how that is like limiting your ability to participate.
No, it's not
Taking
limiting it.
turns.
Well, only it's the fact that face-to-face is always better than online.
yeah.
Right,
And
I'm
just not gonna
mostly
get around
saying
that.
that, yeah, go, sorry, Tom, I
Let's go ahead.
just that we should not assume what people are going to feel. Especially since things have been so hot. And if every single meeting is hybrid, if I lived far away, I might feel like, hey, this system is going to privilege people who live in Nesco. And
Honestly, then I think it's pointless to ever have a hybrid meeting. Like, just assume that nobody in Nesquin can talk to each other person to person,
so
which might be the way Nesquin is now. But I mean,
I think it is worth kind of having the discussion, which we can't have just right here. We can just talk about like what we could discuss elsewhere of like, because I think there's value in those of us who live here being able to get together in a room, but it has to be done in a way that feels fair to everybody. So we like, which and part of that is asking for permission and asking like what would feel fair to you. So
Yeah. So we're not going to get unanimity, but as long as we
I
get
agree.
substantial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with what Jeff said. I do. I agree with what Jeff said.
So
So
we shouldn't hold out for unanimity. We
Right.
just,
getting everyone to think that they're not being damaged by stuff is kind of a long road to hoe.
but as
And
long as most
more-
people are okay with it.
Yeah,
it's okay.
Yeah.
I think we like if we ask with goodwill, like and not just meaning this committee, but like the NCAC officers and executive board, like we would like to have some in-person meetings with a hybrid component.
Right.
But like there's only a point to doing that if it doesn't just work like a Zoom meeting where some people are in the same room. Like I think it's worth asking that question and asking what would feel fair to those of you who don't live here. Like,
should
I
that
think if
come
we
from the,
ask, a lot of people probably will like have the exact same reaction Mark just had. Like, oh, I can see why you would want that, and as long as I don't feel like you're going to screw me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I agree with that. I mean, I agree. I agree with what the road that Jeff's going down. I think to ask and see how people feel about that. The fact is that you do want them involved and you don't want to make them feel slighted in any way as much as you can. And so that's a good conversation to have with not just our group, but the membership as well.
And I think we can state it in a way that is as inclusive as we can be in the statement of what we're trying to accomplish. And, Lori and I are the only ones who have kind of decades of meetings at the fire hall and the input and the, things that we feel were really good meetings with a lot of dialogue and coming to shared conclusions and all that in that context. So it's hard to let go of that because it was a really important part of the community and those meetings were varied amounts of, tension and anxiety or exaltation, but those were real palpable things. So we're kind of letting go of that. It's not too easy.
So
Well-
Randall, can I ask you, Randall, when you
Sure.
had those, and I don't know, did people who, if for the people that did not live there, did they attend those?
There were meetings of over 100 people where people showed
Okay.
up.
Okay,
Yeah.
and Randall, is that because you put them maybe in the summer, or, I mean, would they come in, do you know what I mean? Would they
Yeah,
always
yeah.
be present, or?
I would, in
Mm.
my, Laura, you have your own memories. I have mine. I know at the school, it was probably the spring because kids were still in school, but it was nice, a reasonable weather day, and it was in the gymnasium, and it pretty much filled the gym.
Okay,
Meetings at the fire hall really could be any time of year. People would come down
okay,
for the meeting.
But there wasn't the same meeting fatigue that's been happening.
right,
I mean, I
right.
think everybody in the community, no matter what side they were on, or even if they were neutral, was exhausted by the short-term rental thing.
Yeah.
Right.
And so going into this process, they're already starting both exhausted and ready to be defensive. And so now the way that we have things proposed, we're saying that, like Rand and I, in an ideal world, are saying there's going to be 3 meetings between the April 13th general meeting and the Memorial Day Community Association meeting, with an in-person meeting that day. So that's 4 meetings between now and Memorial Day. And that's just the beginning of what we're asking people to participate in. If we do it on the same kind of a template
Hybrid.
that the bylaws committee did. And so the level of participation that we're asking is totally different than some of the meetings that Rand talked about, where we trusted that you could come together as a group and talk about things. And I mean, I'm obviously old fashioned, but seeing people in person and realizing it's a human being and they have a different agreement, and you can see them after the meeting and say, I hope that you understood where I was coming from or whatever, is different than a Zoom meeting where you can just go away totally pissed off at that person and have no contact with them potentially ever again. Whereas when you leave a meeting like at the fire hall and you're all putting away chairs together, and then you're chatting with the other people you were sitting next to, and you either get more fired up or less fired up, but you can process it differently. It's different being in person and seeing real human beings. And
Yeah.
I would love at least some of these meetings to be where we can see that we are all on the same page and we all do love Nesquin and we all do want the same thing in the end, which I personally don't think you get from Zoom meetings.
So I don't disagree with anything that you've said at all, but I do think the times are different now. They're because of the pandemic. I mean, we experience it as in the school board. It's totally different than what it used to be. We don't have many people attending meetings. They watch our Zoom meetings on the Zoom.
Yeah.
And so everything has changed. And so the dynamic has changed. It's just a different time. And right or wrong, people who can't be there, or because of whatever, they're not going to drive, they will want to be involved.
So what I see as a little bit different is if there's not a conversation, if everybody's just standing up and giving their opinion and there's no conversation, it limits your mind's ability to start having nuance and kind of like say one thing and then the other person says something else, and then you say, well, I didn't really mean it that way. Oh, I guess really I do mean it. This would be a better word. And oh, well, like that kind of a thing. It's different than if you stand up and say, I have 2 minutes, I'm going to say my thing. Next person has 2 minutes, they're going to say their thing.
So I'd like to say that actually happened. That kind of interaction happened in the bylaws meeting.
Yeah.
Jeff was a catalyst for a lot of conversations where we took and we rewrote sections based on feedback from everybody who was online. So that sort of thing is possible, and in fact did happen.
I see it happen in school board meetings all the time too. So
it's not as good, but
Yeah.
it works.
And it could be on the officers or the committee members themselves to facilitate that further conversation that they don't exactly understand, or they hear part of it and they question to better understand what the person is saying. So it might be our role to extend and nuance and create a conversation rather than having other participants be the ones who are responsible for that. So maybe we can do it through our own facilitation, rather than just going next, we heard that, let's go to the next person. So maybe that's part of our goal in this process, is to make it more nuanced.
Well, and listening to this, it seems to me like it actually might be more effective to just be on Zoom. Because
Uh-huh.
there's no controversy about who had more of an influence. And honestly, I don't know,
Yeah.
it could just be distracting to be on Zoom
Somebody's in the
from
room.
the way you're describing it.
Uh-huh.
I think you guys should decide as a committee, but I want to say, that I don't think you are wrong, Lori, to desire that in-person experience. And I don't think it's wrong to say like, wait, hey, we kind of lost something. How much can we get back?
Mhm.
And I'm just saying, like, we have to do it with sensitivity, and we can't just like foist it on people, because if people feel like they've been cut out, or they're second class citizens, then you've really screwed up. And second, which is sort of parallel to that, I think you are more likely to have a pretty good Zoom meeting where you have those good conversations if it's just Zoom only. I think probably having a hybrid meeting, if you really are working hard to make the people who are online
Right.
full participants, probably is less spontaneous and flexible, because you're having to work to put extra effort into to like giving people turns and stuff. So
Covering two fronts. Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
it's worth a try. I mean, we can always decide after one, if it was a disaster, we can say, well, that didn't work, and go to Zoom only if we need to.
Yeah.
But I think it's worth a try.
Yeah. Okay, well, um, we'll wait till we have a couple more committee members participating to have a full discussion of this, but I think we will definitely try with the first meeting, and we will try to be sensitive to creating more of a conversation than just going through a rotation of who signed up for what, when, or in the chat or something. Let's see what we can do to create a little more in-depth conversation during our comments and getting our feedback. So let's try the hybrid on the 13th, and we'll talk to Lynn
you mean
and
on
Guy
the
about
date that you
that
pick?
more. Pardon me?
You mean on the date that you pick?
Oh, on the 18th, excuse me.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, whatever date you pick. Because you haven't
Okay,
haven't
I
picked a
believe
date.
it's the 18th. That's the
So you've
first
got four
meeting that
choices.
is not the big
And,
meeting.
and Tom and I have conflicts on the 18th. So
I do as well, but
On the 18th?
right, the date that Lori presented, and I think that was discussed at the last meeting, was the 17th, because that's a Wednesday.
Well, we didn't know about that.
is it 18th is Thursday, I think, isn't it?
Yes. Well, yes, we're looking to all Thursdays and Saturdays, because there's something that happens every Wednesday that was somewhat in conflict with
Oh,
that date. So,
Okay. That's new information for me.
right, well, so we didn't know the 18th was Thursdays were gonna be a conflict. So Thursdays are school boarding meetings or something,
no, well, from.
other things.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just on like the 18th, like Tom and I happen to have a social, like a neighborhood thing.
Oh,
And that just popped up today.
oh,
Yeah, but Rand, I mean, mine is we're hiring a new superintendent, and the meetings are just, we're interviewing and things. So it's not always. So
not a regular basis,
No, no.
okay. Well. What do you think, Lori?
I'm right now. I'm just gonna be trying to make whatever dates we have work. We might be actually like at my cousin's in California or something, but I'm just gonna make sure I always have internet access. And if it's a hybrid, be there in person. If it's truly in person, I'll just make those dates work.
Okay, so regarding the 18th, we wouldn't have Tom or Jeff or Mark,
Yeah.
And actually,
right, on
like,
the 18th.
probably a lot of other people, because, yeah,
It's a social engagement.
yeah. I'm surprised you
Well,
weren't
that's-
invited, actually, so.
I'll go back to Wednesday on that week to go to the 17th.
Okay,
Okay, so the 17th, we'll have our first hybrid meeting at 7 PM. So. But if it's not on a regular basis, I'd like to keep the other ones on Thursdays.
okay. I think I'm busy the next Thursday too, which is also a one-off, but,
Well, I think at that point it's a 2-off.
well, it's a different,
I know, I know.
You don't mean the next Thursday, do you, Rand? You mean 2 Thursdays away, right? Is that right?
Yeah, it would be
Did I hear
2
you right?
Thursdays
Okay.
away, which would,
Okay.
I wrote it out. The
Got it.
schedule is on,
Got it.
you have it, and we'll just change the date on the first one.
Okay.
But,
And we need to confirm with Sarah, but she has been
right, all this
not
is,
been in contact today.
right, we sent it, we included her in the notes, but, yeah, we'll have to see when she gets back to us and in what form, whether it's just an email or an actual conversation, which there's a
Okay.
few subjects I need to discuss with her. So when I ever get her on the phone, I'm gonna have to work through as many things as I can because it's hard to
Right.
get a hold of her.
okay. Oh yeah, May 2nd, I'm okay, but I just realized that you changed 3 of the 4 dates from what Lori talked about at the executive meeting. So you've had an update. So.
Yeah, May 2nd, I do have a conflict, but don't,
Yeah.
you just have to set dates, Randall, that
Right,
work for most people. I
right.
understand that, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, all right, well, so we have kind of gone over what our logistics are that we have any control over and our dates.
One other thing, who is presenting this conversation at the general meeting about how people feel about hybrid and in person or only Zoom? Who's leading that conversation?
Is that our committee or the big committee?
I don't know. Jeff was the one that expressed the concern. Tom,
I think if you guys want to have that conversation, that's fine, but I think it's not limited to your committee. So like we could bump it up and have it be its own agenda item or something.
We can, we're happy to start that ball rolling, I think, Jeff,
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Just-
think
you
it's a
just
good
add
idea.
Yeah.
I think we can add that agenda item, and it's not like
Yeah.
substantial enough that we'll get any challenges or anything. So
We're just looking for feedback.
Right,
So
Right.
we're happy to do that. Yeah.
okay,
And
Thank you.
we'll put that on the agenda. Like that'll go out on Saturday with the update to for the with the new bylaws.
uh-huh,
And we'll just add like 10 minutes mark ahead of your agenda item.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's fine, Jeff.
Okay.
I think we'll get good. I think people will weigh in on that. So
Yeah.
okay. So, well, I was hoping to have Guy here soon for his piece. I did speak with him, and he did say that Sarah had not provided anyone yet to review his document, and he feels like that needs to happen before he can present it. So that's kind of an awkward continuing problem to not get the feedback, and therefore we don't have the content in which to develop new recommendations. So, oh, here's a message from Guy. He'll be home in 15 minutes. So, let's see, what other elements on here can we deal with? That's kind of the main other thing are the recommendations. And then again, how and when are those meetings going to happen throughout the summer? And I mean, I assume I'll be part of trying to present all that stuff, but we need to get dates for all of that so that can be published. So we have a longer record of where this is going. Is if we can firm up the value statements with the agreement with the community, then we can continue to get feedback quietly, but I think we'll want to be finalizing the values because those are the things that then drive decisions on recommendations and implementing ordinances, et cetera. They all have to refer to a goal. And so that's what the values do is they empower you to make decisions and as a rationale for your recommendations. So that's something we want to get done so that the work can follow and use that work. And we'll probably by the end of August, we'll have additional feedback about the values as we go through the recommendations that might drive us to edit some of the values so that they do work with the recommendations. Some things we might not foresee might be needed to happen before a final version is presented. So
One thing that Guy mentioned last meeting was that the first value statement actually has lots of different things, and some people may agree with some of it and not others. And we may need to be more granular.
I think that's a good idea. Lori had suggested the idea that we review those and retain the originals there, but also maybe break some of the other ones down in a way that retains some meaning, but is more granular, and maybe 2 or 3 questions may come out of that first question. Things like that as a revision to make it more clear. So
Tom, we're planning, is it 3 community meetings? We're planning the poll that we discussed at our last committee meeting at the April 13th general meeting, which gives people a chance to be introduced to the current values and given a chance to say, I think we had 5 different choices from I agree with it and I disagree with it. I can't remember what all the different variations were, and I'm not going to respond. We're going to take those comments and use them to guide us for the first meeting that we have during the weekday, and we're hoping to do a very similar process to what you did in the bylaws committee, where we put the original up and we asked people for their comments about what it is that they either agree with or disagree with. And if we're able to come to a revision of it that works for today's world, and then move on to the next one. And then the second, and that may need some work by the committee between the first and the second meeting.
yeah,
The second meeting, do a present the revised visions and or kind of finish up that process about revising the original visions and present the concept, if we have enough time, that we're open to new visions, present that, and then at the next meeting, hopefully finalize any revisions to the original and work on any new visions that might be presented. And then at the meeting at the Memorial Day session, present what we're proposing after the community input as being the NESCO values that we're bringing up, we're proposing to be part of the new community plan, and get feedback once again about those and any revisions. Rand, is that what we talked about?
Yeah,
So there'll be a lot of potential for people, like, for instance, I know Guy was concerned about using the word citizen. That would be the perfect forum for him to say, I think the word citizen should be replaced with blank.
I never
And-
understood that. I'm a
So but
citizen.
anyway, that just as an
I'm
example,
happy to be a citizen.
this is an example. So anyway, does that respond to what you're thinking
as a schedule and
as an approach?
an approach. Does that work for you, Tom?
Sure.
Okay. All right. Well, what else can we talk about for 9 minutes until a guy gets home? Well, I think I think the meeting thing is a really big question for us. And we'll kind of see how it goes. And see how good we are at pulling conversations out of statements so that we can get more engagement and have it be more like a real conversation rather than just people lining up to say stuff. And I think it will be challenging to make it through each of those meetings with enough feedback but I think we'll get a feel for it depending on how attendance is and how responsive people are to the opportunity to comment on these values. So I think there's good potential in this first part of the engagement with the public, and we'll just kind of have to see how it goes and how good we are at adapting to Zoom as reality.
One thing that I personally am really concerned about is the next step for the summer. Like, Brand and I have been talking quite a bit about the vision and values and when the meetings would happen and what would happen in each of the meetings and what's going to happen at the Memorial Day meeting. But then from what we were originally kind of assigned as a pair for our conversation, it's kind of over. And I haven't heard anything concrete about what's happening in June or July or August. And we really need to get a framework proposed for that. So both we can tell the public about, like, this is where we're going, and also that we like start making a specific schedule and agenda for, like, when Guy's gonna present his things, Tom, when you're gonna present like your revised plan for people to read with the information just rearranged. Are we gonna ask for input about that? Or are we just doing that? Like, I don't have any picture in my mind about what happens after Memorial Day.
I think that's an accurate viewpoint.
Yeah,
I think we
But
can't know.
it's
somewhat
not very much
problematic.
time. If we truly are supposed to have an agreed, voted on final draft by October, which is what we said. And also there has to be a middle housing discussion, which I'm guessing is going to take at least one meeting, if not 2 meetings, for one to get the information out there and one to let people think about it. It's like we need to get practical about who's doing what and when are they presenting. And I wish that Guy and Lynn were here because they have
An
a lot of
important part.
knowledge between the two
Yeah.
of them.
Yeah. Well, I
but I-
hear you, Lori. I agree, and I think we're gonna have to get some things going that have been hard to accomplish so far without Sarah Tom's overbooked doing what he's already doing. And so we have to carve out time for Tom somewhere. I don't know how you do that.
Well,
Um,
hopefully it's almost done. I hope
Yeah,
that's true.
okay. Well, that's great. You guys have done so much work. It's amazing. And hopefully Lynn will have a reasonable recovery time, and Sarah will talk to Guy and give him some guidance so that he can move forward. It kind of can't really do anything if he doesn't understand what the gist of what his inquiry is which ones exist, which ones were thrown out, and what's feasible to move forward with from the old plan. And we've been trying to approach the new values that would address some of the subjects that might become recommendations and some actions that would be required if we wanted to make those happen. So those will warrant some discussion as well. There are a lot of subjects to handle between June and the end of August. When most people are in town, but they're not really thinking about community plans or playing golf and frolicking on the beach and carrying on a little bit. So it may be that the hybrid meetings take a different shape in the summer. I don't know. I have to see what that looks like. Oh, Lori, you're muted again, I think.
The other thing, I don't want it to be this way, but I think that we need to be realistic, is the November deadline that we have is based upon the state's guideline that we have to have the middle housing component done by November. And if there becomes a time during this process where we feel like we are not going to get there with all the other parts, we might need to decouple that element. Just throwing
Right.
it out there. I don't want I like actually the fact that there is a deadline so we can all just be over with it and we can tell everyone, pay attention this summer, and then we're done with meetings for as far as we can see in the future.
Uh-huh.
But in any case, I think we need to just be practical about the timeline.
Yeah. Yeah.
So does Sarah actually have the person in hand who's going to facilitate that housing discussion?
Theoretically. We
I don't,
haven't seen anybody, and everything that was suggested that they be very engaged has withdrawn to being, yes, they are. The consultants have been selected and they're involved, but they're not probably going to be. They'll probably present something, as what I would expect is they'll say, here's what we need from you and every other community in Tillamook and in the state in order to get this done. And there's not too many variables. It's a state law that you need to approve. So I don't know where the wiggle room would be. It may be just be one meeting with the presentation and then the package slides into the community plan. I don't really know. I'm assuming Sarah knows, but I don't know that either. It's an unknown entity at this point in time. But you're right, Lori. There's some work to do, and it needs to start taking shape in a schedule and with some subjects in there so people can anticipate engagement on that level with those subjects. So Guy's going to get grilled and then in a minute or two here, but I know he's taken on some other stuff now too. So he's
So one thing that we might want to discuss, and this needs to be with both Guy and Lynn, because I'm assuming that they are going to be instrumental in the coming meetings, is do we just want to say there's going to be a meeting on like the first Tuesday and the third Saturday or some
Right.
kind of so people can put it on their calendars if they're interested and know that in June, July, and August, there's going to be these regular meetings and they can refer to the NCAC website to see what topics are being discussed as they're amended and posted and changed and updated.
Well, I think we'll definitely ask Guy and Lynn before we do that, but I think that they would agree. You have to plan meetings or people don't come. So we'll talk to Guy today and Lynn when she's I don't know, is it hip surgery? I
Yeah.
thought it was hip surgery. So my experience, you're walking the same day or you walk out of there. I mean, it's a pretty they want you to start using it right away. So I don't think she's going to be sedated for 2 days or something. I think she'll be pretty much engaged within the week. So we'll have to drill down on them to say we need some commitments to dates and content, and just like we've come up with it, they'll come up with it, and then we'll just have to see how their follow through is, and that's just part of being a committee. And if they need help with it, I'm certainly open to helping however I can to get that accomplished.
Well, the other thing is Tom and Jeff, if you're like the ones that are running the Zooms or hybrids, whatever it ends up being, like it's your entire summer.
Yeah.
Are you available? Do you want to be available? Are you available? Do we need to find Nancy or someone else to like pinch
Take every other meeting
or like just in a practical way? How does that work for you? Because that's a big commitment.
I knew that coming in. I can't speak for Jeff, but I knew
Yeah.
that coming in. I'll
I
make
think
what I
that's
can.
that's a good thing to keep in mind. And probably we may want to try and make sure we have some backup. So one of the things that we would like to do, like the bylaws, like kind of came out of the bylaws process, is to recruit some more people to do IT, and hopefully we'll get some, but it probably we'll start asking for people at the like around the time of the June meeting. So
I missed the last word, trying to get people to do what?
IT information, like run
Oh,
Zoom meetings
IT.
and whatnot.
Yeah, gotcha.
So and we can probably put the word out as soon as the bylaws are ready, or even before. So that's something like we've had so much going on. I haven't really been like making it the top of my mind to like when do we start asking for communications coordinators, but we can and probably should front load that and start asking like in May. So,
But why not at the next meeting? I mean, you've already started executive board meetings, and that's not in the current law.
it's true. Well, and there is the current bylaws allow for one communications coordinator. So we can ask, we can start asking. So I don't know. Maybe we should do that, Mark. What do you think?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jeff, have you met Derek of Derek and Allison?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Guy's here, by the way.
I'll get a hold of him and find out what his I know he's a techie and that's his business, so I'll just try and get a feel for whether this is up his alley or not.
Yeah, if it's up his alley, and like it's not like we need people who are professionals. We just need people who are not intimidated and willing to learn. So
Okay.
um
And Chris did it for a while.
Yeah.
He's withdrawn a little bit, but I think he has potential for stepping in and specific.
Chris is out of town a lot, but sure.
He
Yes.
travels a lot now that the pandemic's over. That
Yeah.
was we were lucky to get him for those 2 years. I
Well,
think.
he's gonna run again for treasurer, so we didn't lose him, but
Right.
like I don't know, or we didn't lose him for treasurer, like you lost him for this process, but I don't know how much he can step
What
in.
his bandwidth is,
Yeah.
right. He's got a lot going on. There's Mr. Doc Sievert. How you doing, Doc?
I'm doing fine. And speaking of, I just learned something that if you don't click, it's okay to record, you can't unmute yourself.
Oh, you don't get to participate.
Yeah. I've been trying to unmute myself and it wouldn't work. All of a sudden I looked over the other side, says, okay, are you okay that it's being recorded? Sorry. Did I miss anything?
Nah,
Good.
yeah, so we've been discussing the meetings that are coming up, the scheduling. I sent you, you can check your email if you want
I
to
saw it.
see. Okay,
Yeah.
so that's what we've been discussing and the value of hybrid versus Zoom and the quality of conversation that might require the committee members to draw out more nuanced responses or question answers rather than just accepting and then moving to the next one. So we're going to try as committee members to make the process a little more communicative and nuanced than it's been as straight ahead Zoom, because we're not sure that the hybrid equation is all that functional. Given everybody has to feel like they're engaged and being heard. So that's a rough estimation of an important part of the conversation we've had. And we do have, as you can see on that published thing I sent out, there's one date to alter that you'll see, but we have the content and the meetings scheduled for the values statements to be reviewed and hopefully generally accepted by the end of the Memorial Day weekend meeting with the community meeting. So that brings us to, are you and Lynn ready to make some commitments to some dates for meetings to discuss the recommendations and implementing ordinances and all the content that you've been researching so that we can indicate to the public the path that we're on to get this accomplished by the end of August?
So our next committee, well, we're mid-April.
So what we were
then-
using, Guy, was the bylaws were meeting on Wednesdays and Saturdays. And I switched it to Thursdays and Saturdays for selfish reasons. And so would you?
you switched the bylaws?
No, I didn't switch the bylaws committee. Our meetings were kind of using that schedule that the bylaws committee had been using. I altered it by a day, but kept roughly the same dates and times. The meetings being twice a week per subject. Anyway, that's
Wow.
what the dates reflect on that thing I sent out today. So the question is, would you tell me if you and Lynn are prepared to, or will be prepared to start in June on maybe 2 meetings every other week to engage the public and get feedback?
Oh, sure. By June.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I can work with you to get those dates worked out. Or you can work with Lynn and,
I'm thinking, are Lynn and I assigned together to do the land use stuff?
well, that was the idea, that you guys as a team would work
All right.
on the land use, because that's your expertise and it's not our expertise. So we worked on the values
Right.
and you guys were working on land use. And you can change that or do
No,
whatever.
I just want to make sure. And so So what will come in June with are, one, the result of the recommendations in 2001, the recommendations that we think out of that group that weren't completed, and we know that there are at least some, that whether or not Lynn and I will make a recommendation about what we think about those. And then Lynn and I will go over the land use ordinances, any of the other special things like the coastal hazards overlay, other kinds of requirements. And we will come in June, but we want to come to the committee, obviously, first with what we're gonna, what we've come up with as a proposal. So there'll be, so are you saying in June we would be coming to the committee, right? Or the community, which one? Because if we're
Well, I
going to,
think in the sequence you suggest, you'd first come to the committee
right,
and we'd all take a look at it and review it, and then
okay,
hopefully come to consensus of what can work to
Okay.
present to the public. And then start presenting to the public maybe 2 weeks later.
okay,
In my head, you were coming to the committee in May, so in June, you would be ready to go to the community. Because in May, the values and visions part, we're hoping will get done. So we need to start thinking as a committee about the next step.
right.
So we're ready to go. I mean, I think the thing to do is to look at with Lynn at a calendar, and you guys figure out what are the topics, how many days do we need to discuss it? And also leave time there for 1 or 2 meetings that are about middle housing. And that will,
Do we have those? Yeah,
we don't.
yeah,
But I mean, at this point, getting to the calendar and just being practical about this topic, that topic, like we have these 6 topics, where are they going to go? Or we have these 8 topics, where are they going to go?
Yeah.
so, whoops, I lost here it is. Lost Rand's. Why is that disappearing on me? There it is. So these May meetings, the 2nd, 16th, and 26th
Right.
for our committee.
Those are the community meetings about values and visions.
Right. So
Those are
Lori and
community
I'll
meetings.
run those and
But our committee is going to continue meeting every other Monday.
Yes.
yes.
Got it. All right.
So as soon
Maybe
as it is,
mid-May, you know, whenever our meetings fall, we'll shoot for mid-May. At least I can think that, you know, some of this depends on Sarah's availability as well, of course. But
we,
let's try to shoot for mid-May when Lynn and I would come with recommendations, proposal. Okay,
okay,
to the committee.
right. All right. And then when Lynn is in good enough shape to meet with you, you can kind of look from there out together and plot out how your information will be provided to the public, and then we'll have these, you know, you've attended a lot of the bylaw committee meetings, Guy?
A couple, not a lot.
Okay, so their process of getting feedback seems quite successful, and we'll try to engage people with the proposals and come to use the feedback to revise and then review that revision at the next meeting so that you get more feedback and maybe get some resolution. And so that's the kind of process we're looking at.
Yeah.
Kind of 2 meetings for each subject in order to get some resolution to feel like, okay, that's presentable and we've gotten the input. And it may not, and we may date 3 if it's complicated or more. We don't really know until the public gets engaged. But that's our goal, is to create a process and get enough feedback so that we can make the revisions and feel like that's a bit of a consensus.
Sounds good.
Okay. The detailed planning. So what are we missing?
Lynn's surgery was today, wasn't it?
Correct. That's
It
what
was
I
hip-
understood.
Hip surgery, right? I think.
Fran,
Yeah.
I don't,
I thought it was a couple days ago, but
Oh, was it?
yeah.
Anyway, it was hip surgery, right? I mean, it wasn't.
we were joking about that she might be ready today, but I think it was probably yesterday.
Ah.
So she's probably still recovering and like I think she said that she like had physical therapy and she would probably just conk out after that is what
Uh-huh.
going on.
Okay.
Fran, you didn't share about how we were publicizing things.
I just was looking at that. I realized we hadn't discussed that. So I think I put it on the thing I sent out, though. Let me double check.
Oh.
Right, so the publicity that we're proposing, these are the outlets that we can think of, and there may be others, and we're open to adding to it. Is the Community Association newsletter comes out about mid-April, and I'll have an article that outlines this information in that newsletter. The NCAC website, the NCAC emails that will be going out, and I'm happy to work on a graphic, to send out as the email if that's helpful. And then as we head towards summer, the golf course, the window, and Lori has something we can put on the counter to point out meetings that are coming up, encourage people to come, and the Nesquin Trading Company notice board at the store. Though that's about the extent that we can think of opportunities to publicize this activity. Obviously, the community meetings for it's not the board, the Nesquin Citizen Advisory Committee meetings also are an opportunity to promote it. So if anybody has any other ideas that we can add to that, we're open to doing that to get the word out about these meetings.
I don't know how many of our residents get mail still in Cloverdale. I mean, we used to use that board at
The
the
post office there,
here.
okay.
Is
Because,
it worth
yeah,
an ad at the Headlight Herald? Do we have a budget for that?
Yeah, I'm just not sure who in Nesquin.
Gail Uzell.
Our Jogo.
We could, also, I could put it on the Pioneer, the
Yeah,
e-newspaper.
that'll be for free.
That'd be for free. And Cloverdale Post Office is a good idea. Because a lot of people get their mail there. Okay, and I might get permission from the neighborhood associations where their mailboxes are to post some stuff. Some of them are set up not for that, but some, like South Beach, there's space there. There should be a bulletin board there. It'd be kind of helpful, but I don't know how much work it would take to get that passed.
Yeah.
So those are the outlets, and thanks for those ideas for additional places to post.
Well, I think just generally sending, we have some pretty large HOAs.
Uh-huh.
Sahali proposed Proposal Rock, South Beach, even the South Beach Road Association. Whatever that one is up here on,
Hills of Nescoin.
well, the Hills of Nescoin. Up here by the water tower, they've got a HOA. I can't remember the name of it. But that might be another to send to
Outreach.
outreach to the HOAs and have them, they all have email lists.
Okay, good thought.
The Sons and Daughters of Slab Creek, isn't that an association?
I don't think we're that organized.
Uh,
Okay, well, I'll look into that for the different associations and people I know in those neighborhoods and who you talk to get them to send out notices, because I've done that before and people were pretty cooperative. So we'll give that a shot.
Pete and Connie would be for that association up by the water tower. I don't know if you have that. I can contact them.
Okay,
And what's his name for the Proposal Rock? I think he's still ahead. I'll think of it in a minute. And then, of course, Bill Bush and others for that South Beach, the Road Association, and whatever their South Beach group is called.
I think there's a couple of them.
John Meacham for the Hills of Nescoin. If he's not the head, he used to be the head. If he's not, he would know.
Right. Ex-firefighter, is that John
Yeah.
Meacham?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's a good extension of what we had, so good input. Okay, well, so you've got we need to horse tie Sarah and get her to give you some support on the work that you've done so that we can move. It's kind of,
Yeah, I could force that issue a little more. Part of me is just when I talked to her a week and a half ago, it was, I think I told you, Rand, that, she said, well, let's do it next week. That was a week and a half ago. It was supposed to be this past week. And, because I knew she was really booked when I talked to her a week and a half ago, but clearly that hasn't happened. she's, but I will be seeing her anyways here shortly.
okay,
Another week or two. And for sure I'll be seeing her. And I think what I'm trying to do is tie up one of my trips to Tillamook on the planning commission just to meet with her beforehand so we can go over that stuff. So we'll see. It'll happen.
okay, all right. Well, it's definitely a key time right now to get that moving so that you can move forward and we can move forward as a committee.
Right.
So, and if it could be a part of your conversation to help us understand what the middle housing piece is going to look like, or what form it's going to take, it would be helpful so we could get it in the schedule rather than just having it knock something else out because she has to get it done this week or something. But I suspect that might be what happens.
One of the things that I know she's dealing with it because the planning commission dealt with it for 3.5 hours a week and a half ago. That's when I saw her. And that is along with the middle housing piece, the state passed a law that says that all zones that are rural residential, and we do have some RR zones, I think, within our CAC boundary, the broad boundary. In all those, you can put a motorhome or a trailer and call it a permanent. So if you have a house on an RR zone, you can add a trailer or motorhome and put a post outside and run an electrical wire to it and call it a home. And you
There
can,
goes the neighborhood.
and you can rent it out.
Oh, jeez.
In fact, that's the whole purpose of it, is for you to rent or lease it.
Hmm.
So, the law is, it's broad enough to demand some interpretation, and that's why the planning commission spent 3 hours trying to see how that would work. But we all shared I think the whole planning commission at the time shared the same concern, is that can you start seeing peppering all of our zones with, motorhomes as permanent housing. So that's what, I know that's on her mind now. She's trying to work on that. I mean, I know we are too, and it's something and again, we have no choice. I don't know how it's coming. And I don't know if Mark is still on this call, but if this is coming to the CAC chairs too, because how Tillamook County interprets the state laws is going to impact certainly some zones within, and people within our own CAC boundary. So
Hmm.
I'll be curious if Mark has heard, or if they're bringing it up at the chairs meeting. So,
Okay. Well, anything else for the good of the order here?
beautiful Easter day yesterday.
That was lovely.
People just out enjoying the sun.
Shocking.
A lot of really bad dogs on the beach. People felt comfortable bringing their attack dogs on the beach yesterday morning.
Glad I missed that. Poor Finn had to stay in the truck all day.
Have you told any stories about your travels? I mean, to the group? I mean, have we?
Not on this airtime. No, I haven't.
Oh, wow. It's all recorded. I mean, we could broadcast it if you, all right.
Slideshow. Are you ready for the slideshow?
Oh, yeah.
You got
Wednesday
another 3 hours?
night. Wednesday night. All right.
Okay. Well, so the next meeting of the committee, where the hell does that live? That is
15th.
so that's the
Yeah, it's the 15th. It's 2 weeks from today.
15th
Yeah.
at 2 p.m.
So that's
And
5 o'clock Eastern time, right? Yeah.
yeah, is that where you're gonna be?
Well, I just didn't want to miss the trial on the 15th. So no, yeah,
Oh.
so that'll work out.
Okay, good to hear. On that agenda will be updates from the Vision and Values Committee on whether the venue that anyway, we'll come up with an agenda, but
Well, no, come up with an agenda now. 'Cause
okay.
yeah.
We will I'll kind of use this one to make that one then. We'll assume that Guy can open the actual business part of the meeting with an update on the recommendations and what he's found out from Sarah.
Fourth time's the charm.
Okay. And we will review any new developments such as success with any or all of these publicity opportunities, and firming up with the schedule. If any, I hope it hasn't changed by then about the Vision and Values meetings. And the logistics of such as to whether we can have a firm commitment about the technology to do those hybrid meetings. Certainly the first one we need to nail down, so that
Yeah,
happens.
let me ask you, are you gonna try and figure out, try and set a date for your first one before April 13th so you can announce it?
Well, we have,
Well,
all-
we had just published it today. All we did was move a Thursday to a Wednesday. So all those dates are our dates for our
Right,
meetings.
but
that
have
we
you
can
confirmed,
publish.
do you have a venue? Do you have Sarah's confirmation? Like,
I don't have anything from Sarah.
so you need
And-
those things before you confirm a date.
Well, okay. I would like to publish the dates and then find it. I don't think we're gonna change it either. If Sarah can't show up and give us the equipment, then I'm gonna find the equipment somewhere else and get the funding for it. So I want to commit to the meetings and not wait on Sarah, because waiting on Sarah has not produced anything so far. We don't know the consultant, we
Right.
don't know middle housing piece, we don't know if she's gonna show up at meetings, so I don't really want to count on that. I want to get a
Oh, okay.
schedule.
So
and
what
figure
about the
out how
venue
we're
part?
gonna do a
Like,
hybrid
what are you
presentation.
going to announce about? So it's going to be the 17th. You want to stick a pin in that, but do you
Yep.
have like, and you're going to do it whether you have Sarah or not?
Correct. 17th and the 20th are the two meetings in April. And then we go to May, just as I sent out today. And I don't have any reason to think we can't accomplish this with or without Sarah. I would
Okay.
prefer to have Sarah, but if the whole process is stuck in the mud because she doesn't have the time to do it, we got to do it another way. And I'm willing to track that down and figure that out with the people we have available and ask the NCA for some funding.
Rand, the water district has equipment for hybrid meetings.
Okay,
It's not quite what Sarah, I mean, Sarah has that camera that follows around whoever's speaking.
right.
That's not what it is, but it is kind of a central piece that gives the visual and of every, but you may want to talk to Troy. I'm not going to describe what he's got, but he just got new equipment.
Okay. Well, I think within our community, we can figure out a way to get this stuff done. And I've kind of lost patience with having to depend on Sarah when she's overbooked and can't always really show up. So
Yeah.
we're a community, we can do this on our own and we can get it done in a way that if we're limited, then we'll just have to let people know we're doing it within the limitations that we have with no budget and no equipment. So that's just reality. We'll do the best we can.
Right.
And I just want to say again, though, if you're going to send out an announcement, you want that to include the location if you want people to show up. So,
Well, we can do it. We can say the school because I think they have Wi-Fi,
Right.
but I'm really hoping that we can, that the community room at the Nesquin Resort will let us know within 24 hours. If you want to hold off or you can't hold off, then we can't put a venue there. But if they have the Wi-Fi.
I mean, the next
that
time an email
room has
blast
the
is going to go out
capacity.
is
Pardon me?
the next email is going out a week from today, or a week, not a week from, it's on Saturday.
Okay.
So
Well,
that's
we
your,
should be able to hear by then, even if we have to go knock on the door over there, which I'll probably do when I leave. And go see who can answer the question, whether they have hot Wi-Fi in the room. That's really all we need, and if it's available.
So Rand, let me just tell you what our experience with the Coastal Hazard Committee meeting there.
Uh-huh.
We thought it was a great room and everything, but it's their community room. It's not a meeting room. And so during our meeting, people kept coming in, getting coffee, drinks, sitting in the corner, chatting. It was
Odd.
not just odd, it was disruptive. It was one of the worst meetings we had was there. And then when we left, the people told us not to come back and schedule another meeting because the members out there, the people who were staying felt that we were denying them full access to their community room. So just to let you know what happened to us there.
Lovely.
Yeah.
and just another thing, any venue we pick, you probably want to test the Wi-Fi before.
Yeah.
Rand, I think is on the phone,
Yeah.
but like I've definitely been
Noted.
in meetings where like, people didn't test the Wi-Fi or there were too many people on it and you couldn't do a Zoom session. So,
Wonderful.
yeah.
Okay, well, so far, there's no place people can walk to that fits the
No.
bill, as far as I can tell. The fire
Yeah.
hall doesn't have Wi-Fi, and the golf course, I don't think is ready to host anything, so we'll have to see if the school
Yeah,
would work on the
Yeah.
dates that we have.
yeah.
So we should know that by Saturday.
Okay.
And I would imagine their Wi-Fi is decent because school, but always good to
Mark's laughing.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it should be, Jeff's right. It should be it should be sharp. So,
Yeah. Okay, so I'll make that inquiry. I would like to keep dates and have a location included. So I'll try to accomplish that and get those dates and places firmed up in the next day or two.
Okay, and remember, so I'm traveling this week, so I will be probably pretty slow to do
Sketchy.
emails and stuff. And so get me as soon as you have all of your information, send the announcement that you want to go out on Saturday, so that and get that as early as possible because I'm going to be pretty busy. So
Okay, I will do that and keep that in mind. ASAP. Okay. So we have Guy's presentation, our presentation, firming up everything we can. And what else? I think those are the only big business items we have. Unless you want to have any subjects, Guy, that you want to add, but I think basically number 5 and number 6 and 7 will be following through on all details in that regard. What's on the current agenda, just they'll be updated.
So, Tom, what's a reasonable time frame for you to be done with the bylaws work and get back to your kind of sorting
Vision.
through the plan by your reorganization of the plan, current plan?
Okay. So, right, this week, I should be creating a draft of all of the new information. I know how to do that. I've done a trial run on that. So I think in 2 weeks' time, I should be pretty much freed up. Unless the wheels fall off.
Don't have that happen.
Okay, but yeah, I could see
Very
that.
dangerous to do that without
Yeah.
wheels.
Yes, but
Okay.
we've gone through all of the things, some of them twice. And now it's a matter of going top to bottom with the 81 slide presentation. And we're not actually going to do that. Well, that's going to be in reserve, but it's available. So this is people's last opportunity to pick at it as a individual piece. It'll be put together by the end of the week.
Fantastic. All right. Well, we'll put you on the agenda and you can give us an update at that time for
Okay.
the next meeting. So include that, please, Jeff, and I will make a point of it of when we look at the agenda together. Okay, I don't think there are any community members attending today. I didn't see anyone.
oh, no one to give public comment.
Okay. So thank you. I think we had a very good discussion today about how to do these meetings, how to try and get the most out of them, given the different world we live in from pre-COVID. And we'll be working as best we can to bring out the best in the community and have them feel a part of the process, and subject matters be more thoroughly discussed than just stated, for us to understand the perspective of everyone. And Guy, hopefully we'll be able to contact Sarah and get some firm information on that front for his work. And he and Lynn can work together to firm up their schedule towards the summer going in, late June going into the summer so that we can schedule meetings for input from the community. And Tom's piece will be there also. So that's where we are at this point in time. Any other input at this point? Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much for your time today and engagement. And we will speak very soon. Before we know it, we'll be back here meeting. We'll see you 13th, I guess.
Yeah,
Okay. Good travels, Jeff.
13?
thanks.
Yeah, that's a general
Is
meeting.
the general meeting.
Oh,
And then you will have your next meeting the 15th, which is
Yeah.
2 days before your session. So just have that in people's heads. Yeah.
It's a blinding schedule,
Yeah.
a flurry. Okay, so
Alright,
thank you very much and good
Thanks, Ren.
afternoon.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.